Hey, what's up everybody? It's TheHyphenate here, and today I'm gonna go over what I think is the best custom key button layout for Sony cameras in 2020 if you're a hybrid shooter, if you do video and photography both pretty consistently and you're constantly bouncing back and forth between the two. Earlier last year, I did a video on this exact topic using the Sony a7 III as the main example. However, on this video, we're gonna use the Sony a6600 and we're gonna map some of the buttons to function with the new Sony autofocus technology that's found in the a6600, a6400, a9 Mark II, a7R Mark IV, and any cameras coming after that. Straight out of the box with default settings, Sony cameras don't really have their buttons mapped with things that we really need on a consistent basis. It really doesn't have important options that I really need to access. And because of that, I like to make my own custom layout. I'm a professional photographer and videographer, and I'm constantly doing both. And I like to have my buttons mapped where I can easily access what I need in both video and photo as I switch back and forth. So again, this layout is recommended for hybrid shooters. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just go through a list of what I have every button set to do, and then I'm gonna show you how they actually function. So once you're in the menu, go to tab 2, and then go to page 8. And that's custom operation 1. Then you'll see custom key for photo and custom key for video. You can map the same buttons to have different functionality depending on if you're in photo or if you're in video. Now me personally, since I do a lot of video and photo consistently at about the same amount, I actually have my custom keys for video following my custom keys for photo. And you can see here, it says follow custom, and then it has the photo symbol. So all my buttons are mapped the same for video and photo. So now let's go back. Let's go to custom keys so I can show you everything that I have mapped. So there are 4 pages. On page 1, number 1, I have switch right/left eye. Number 2 is auto white balance lock toggle. Number 3, focus magnifier. Number 4, monitor brightness. Page 2, number 1, focus standard. Number 2, drive mode. Number 3, ISO. Number 4, finder/monitor select. Page 3, number 1, focus mode. Number 2, focus area. Page 4, number 1, focus hold. Now let's go back. Those are all the custom buttons that I have. Now let's go to the function menu setup. Select that. Now I'm gonna go left to right, one row at a time. So for row 1, I have the first one, white balance. The second, file format. The third, silent shooting. The fourth, wireless flash. The fifth, flash compensation. The sixth, interval shooting for time lapses. Now row 2, the first one, I have touch operation. The second, audio record level for video. The third, right left eye select. The fourth, subject detection. The fifth, face, eye, priority, and autofocus. The sixth, shoot mode. So now that I've customized my button layout, now let me show you guys how they actually work. Now at the moment, since I actually don't have a model to help me, I have my camera mounted on a tripod facing a poster in my podcast studio. But honestly, this is gonna work just fine. So let's get started. C1 is focus mode. That's pretty self-explanatory. I mostly shoot with autofocus continuous. C2, focus area. Also pretty self-explanatory. Now C3 right here by the menu button is for focus magnification, and that does not work in autofocus continuous. I mostly only use that when I'm trying to nail focus on something that's very specific and I need to zoom in closer. So if we change to manual focus and we click C3, now we have the focus magnification and we can move around the box to where we want to focus on, and then we click it again. Now we can be zoomed in, we can magnify the image, and we can click it again to get even closer, so that way we can make sure that we nail focus manually exactly how we want it. And then click it again, and now you're back at your full screen. And that's something that's very useful for me when I'm doing landscapes. Now this button right here actually has 2 different variations. You can have it either set through the AF, MF, and that's one button function there, or if you switch it down to the AEL, that button now has a second function. I'll go over those in a bit, but now let's move on to the actual control wheel. The up button is for display, which is the default setting. I leave it there. That changes the information on your display screen. Left, I also leave default, which is the drive mode for single shooting, continuous shooting, a timer, etc. Right, I also leave default, which is ISO. Down is one that I did customize, and that's for monitor viewfinder selector. Now I have a full video on why I actually have this set up for this function, and it's really because by default, the Sony cameras will switch from the monitor to the viewfinder automatically when you get close to the sensor if you cover it. Now, the monitor is not turning off, as you can see, and the viewfinder is not turning on, even though I'm covering the sensor, because I actually have that feature turned off. I don't like the viewfinder turning on automatically, because if I have the camera too close to me, it turns off my monitor. And if I'm in the middle of a shoot, especially with video, that's very annoying. So in the menu on tab 2, page 6, finder/monitor, I actually don't have it to auto. I don't allow it to automatically go back and forth when the sensor is covered. I have it set to monitor manual. That way, only the monitor works and the viewfinder doesn't work at all, even if you cover the sensor. Now, if I press down, it turns off the monitor and only puts the viewfinder on. And the viewfinder only turns on if you activate the sensor by being close to it. So let's move on from there. C4 down here, which is the trash can button, that I actually have set to monitor brightness. Sometimes when it's too bright outside and I want the screen to be brighter, I want to switch to sunny weather to make the monitor much brighter. Now for the center button inside of the wheel, I actually have that set to the default, which is focus standard. So if you click it and hold it, it'll focus in the center no matter what focusing area. Now a reason that's very useful to me is if I'm in a different focusing area, let's say for example, flexible spot, large, and let's say I have the focusing area up on the right corner and I want to move that. Now, if I have touch operation on and I touch the screen, you're going to see that the touch tracking activates, and I don't want that at the moment, so let's cancel that. Let's say I want to move that focusing area, then I just click on that once, the focus standard, and now I can click, you'll see it turn into a white box, and I can drag it to wherever I want, and then select that. Now we're done. Now let's say I want to move it from that area, click the center button again. Now it's white, and you can move it to wherever I want, then select again. So I like being able to click this and easily be able to drag my focusing point with the touch screen when I'm not shooting in wide focus area. So now let's go into the function menu. And here on the top one, I have the auto white balance. That's self-explanatory. If I know I want to manually choose my white balance, then I go through here. File format for photos. Sometimes I shoot only JPEG and sometimes I want RAW plus JPEG. Then silent shooting, I often use it as well, especially when I'm shooting photos inside of churches or in very quiet environments. Wireless flash, if I have a wireless flash hooked up. Flash compensation, if my flash is not hitting the exact exposure that I want and I want to make a slight adjustment. Interval shooting for time lapses is something that I do very often. Now the touch operation is great for touch tracking, especially for video, but it also works great for photo. I use all the time for video, which allows me to do real-time tracking by just tapping the screen. I like to have it on when I'm doing video, but when I'm doing photos, sometimes it gets in the way when I accidentally touch the screen and it starts doing touch tracking, which I don't want. So I turn that off when I'm doing photos if I don't want to use the touch screen whatsoever. Now for audio record level, that works only in video. So when I'm in video, I can adjust my audio to make sure that I am not peaking. Okay, now that we're back in photo, the next one is right, left eye select. Now you can go auto and let the camera decide for you, which here you can see it's gonna pick whatever it wants. Or you can choose right eye or left eye. Now this is their right eye. If you choose left, it's gonna be their left eye. Let's leave it on right for now. Then the next one is subject detection. This is so you can change between human or animal. Then we have face eye priority in autofocus. This is if you really don't want it to go to faces, then turn that off. I pretty much exclusively keep it on. And then after that, you have shoot mode. This is more in my custom functions if I ever want to change from all manual, and if I'm in a custom mode and I want to make it to aperture priority or shutter priority. And I know some people do like to have that change within their custom settings, so that's why I have you guys map it there. But personally, I almost never use it. I always shoot manual. Okay, so now let's go over what this button is set for when I have it in AEL. By clicking that, it actually does an auto white balance lock. Now, that is a great feature because sometimes you are on auto white balance and you start taking photos or you start recording, and as you move to a different wall or a different space in the room, or even a different location and you're trying to keep the same white balance, then if you're on auto white balance and you forget to choose a custom white balance, then your white balance is going to continue to change pretty much with every different lighting scenario. And so I don't like when that happens, and I often forget to choose a custom white balance. So by here, now I always make sure to do a lock. By just clicking that, you take it off and it'll be at auto white balance again. But if I want to make sure that it stays in the same white balance, like if I like what the camera chooses at this very moment, click that button and the little L, which is a lock, pops up, and now no matter where I go, this white balance is gonna stay consistent. Now, I pretty much always use this if I know I'm not going to look for a specific custom white balance and I'm happy with what the camera just produces for a single shot. I'll lock it, it stays the same as I'm shooting video or photo. Now, when I switch this up and I'm on the AF/MF, now the button here that we have set is to change the left eye or right eye for the eye autofocus. So click it once and now it's on left eye. No matter what I do, it's always gonna find that left eye. Click it again, that's for the right eye. Now this is useful because when you're doing photos, you always want the eye closest to the camera in focus. So if sometimes it's grabbing that right eye that I don't want it to grab when it's in full auto that we have selected in the function menu, sometimes it'll go back and forth between different eyes, and I know I want that left eye. You go into the function first and choose any eye you want. It doesn't matter. Just get out of auto. So let's say let's go to the left eye, which is exactly what we want. But let's say now we want the right eye. Just by having it in right or left, then you can click on this once and switch to right, click it again, switch to left. This is extremely useful for portrait photography. So again, this is an updated custom key button layout that focuses more on the new features that Sony has. Now, if you are a user of the Sony a7 III camera and cameras before that, then I definitely recommend the custom layout from that previous video. And I have a link for that video in the description of this video. So there you guys have it. That's my personal recommendation for the best custom key button layout for hybrid shooters in 2020. Please make sure to drop a like on this video, drop a comment below if you have any questions, and please make sure to subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming soon. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.